The Blue Ox Unleashed, a terrorizing tale of Babe's wrath. In the heart of a rolling countryside, where emerald fields kissed the horizon and golden sunlight painted the barns, Babe the Blue Ox roamed peacefully. His immense stature was softened by his calm demeanor, his deep sapphire coat glinting under the gentle rays of dawn. The farmers adored him. Children clung to his sturdy legs, giggling with joy as he gently nudged them with his snout. Even the skittish barn cat sought his protective shadow, curling up by his hooves. Life on the farm moved to a quiet rhythm. Mornings were filled with the sounds of crows cawing, chickens clucking, and the gentle clatter of milk pails. Evenings saw golden sunsets, casting long shadows over the fields as Babe grazed leisurely, his presence a living embodiment of peace and stability. Fun fact, did you know oxen are some of the oldest domesticated animals, used by humans for over 4,000 years? Imagine Babe being part of that history. If you had a gentle giant like Babe, what would you name him? Comment below. But as the seasons changed, so did the farm. The days grew shorter, the nights colder, and an unsettling shift began to ripple through the atmosphere. Shadows lingered longer in the barn's corners, the golden light of evening feeling a little too dim, a little too muted. Babe, usually oblivious to the subtleties of change, began to pause during his grazing. His massive head would lift toward the horizon, his luminous blue eyes reflecting a flicker of unease. Beneath the serene facade of the farm, something began to stir, a faint whisper of a coming storm, faint yet undeniable. One evening, under the light of a pale, sickly moon, the farm grew unsettlingly still. The once lively cacophony of night fell silent, the wind failing to rustle even a single leaf. The cricket's song vanished, the frogs by the creek no longer croaked, and the air itself felt heavy, oppressive, as though it carried a weight no one could see. The animals were the first to notice the shift. The chickens squawked nervously in their coop, flapping their wings in panic. Sheep huddled together, refusing to venture near their usual pens, their wide eyes darting to unseen threats. The horses whinnied and stomped their hooves in the barn, their fear so tangible that the farm hands struggled to calm them. Babe, though still calm on the surface, began to sense it too. He stood motionless in the pasture, his hulking frame silhouetted against the dim moonlight. Inside him, something was stirring. It began as a faint hum, a low vibration that only he could feel, buzzing in his bones. It wasn't painful, but it was persistent, like a distant warning drum. The farmhands whispered to one another, their voices tight with fear. They spoke of strange lights flickering in the woods beyond the pastures, cold, bluish orbs that danced and pulsed without cause. Some swore they heard low, guttural voices calling their names in the dark. And yet, no matter how far they searched, they found nothing. If you were a farmer and saw strange lights in the woods, would you? A. Investigate like a horror movie protagonist? B. Run for the hills? C. Grab a camera for proof? Comment your answer below. The whispers of the unknown grew louder, pressing against the fragile bubble of the farm's peace. And though Babe was still unaffected on the surface, he couldn't shake the growing sense of unease, like the calm before a terrible storm. The awakening of the beast. It happened suddenly on a night as dark as pitch. A crack of thunder split the air without warning, loud enough to rattle the windows of the farmhouse. But there were no clouds, no storm, only the trembling earth beneath their feet. Babe stood in the pasture, his massive head low, his breathing heavy. The hum inside him, the one that had been quietly growing, now roared like a flood, drowning out every other thought. He staggered forward, his hooves leaving deep impressions in the ground. The transformation was both grotesque and mesmerizing. Muscles rippled beneath his hide, swelling unnaturally as veins pulsed with an otherworldly blue light. His horns, once smooth and rounded, twisted and lengthened into jagged sides. His gentle face contorted into a nightmarish visage, his sapphire eyes burning like twin embers of rage. And then he roared. It wasn't the low, comforting bellow the farm knew. It was a deafening, guttural sound that shook the very earth. The animals scattered in terror, and even the farmhands fled, dropping their tools as they ran. Fun fact, did you know an ox can pull up to 2,600 pounds? Now imagine one as big as Babe, supercharged with rage. Terrifying, right? When the transformation ended, Babe was no longer the beloved blue ox. He was a monster, a force of destruction incarnate, radiating an aura of pure, unrelenting power. Babe's first step forward cracked the earth beneath his massive hooves, sending tremors through the ground. He charged toward the barn, his horns splintering its wooden beams as if they were brittle matchsticks. Hay erupted into the air, catching fire from a fallen lantern. The farmhouse was next. Once a beacon of safety and warmth, it crumbled under Babe's onslaught. The walls folded inward, collapsing into a heap of dust and splinters as flames consumed what little remained. The farmhands watching from the hills could only scream in helpless terror. Babe's rampage was unstoppable. Trees fell like dominoes in his path, their roots ripped from the earth. The ground quaked with every step he took, each one more destructive than the last. Poll. What's scarier? A rampaging ox glowing with fury? B, the eerie, unseen force that started it all? Comment your pick below. The once idyllic farm became a smoldering ruin, lit by the unholy glow surrounding Babe. He was no longer the gentle guardian of the fields. He was destruction made flesh. By the time dawn broke, the farm was unrecognizable. The rolling green pastures were reduced to barren wastelands. The barns were blackened husks, their twisted frames barely standing. Smoke curled lazily into the sky, a bitter reminder of the devastation. Babe stood in the center of it all, his massive frame heaving with exhaustion. The eerie glow around him had faded, leaving only a faint flicker in his eyes. He was no longer the beast of fury, but neither was he the gentle ox the farm once knew. He was something else entirely, something broken, something lost. He let out a low, mournful groan, his head dipping toward the ground. The sound carried through the empty fields, a haunting lament for what had been destroyed. Last thought. What do you think caused Babe's transformation? A supernatural force? An ancient curse? Share your wildest theories in the comments. Some say that if you pass the ruins of the farm on a quiet night, you can still hear him, a deep, sorrowful bellow echoing across the fields. And if you listen closely, you might hear the hum of the unknown, still waiting, still watching. If this story gave you chills, hit the like button and share it with a friend. Want more eerie tales? Don't forget to subscribe for weekly chills.